We'll have AD John Gilbert and the chancellor available on that backdrop. Coach Houston will remain there. Without further ado, let's get things rolling.
Good morning. Go Pirates. Welcome. It's good to see some of you back from yesterday. Here we are again for another exciting day for East Carolina University and Pirate Nation. You know, some weeks back when we started our search for an AD, I made the bold statement at the time, or some took it that way, that we wanted to conclude our AD search by the end of the football season. I was very pleased and very proud when Saturday, at the conclusion of our football season, I was able to sign an MOU with John Gilbert to become our next AD. We made that deadline. I guess John knew coming in the door there would be some pretty heavy lifting that needed to be done right away. And so how excited we were when he was able to share his list of prospective coaches with us, and it matched perfectly with our list. And not only did it match, but we were able to go right to the top, right to the very first person on our list. So John, I have to tell you, you get your first job evaluation today. And you've done okay. So congratulations. Without any further ado, the athletic director of East Carolina University and our athletic programs, John Gilbert.
First, I'd like to thank the Chancellor and Dave for assisting me through this process. Obviously, I stand before you less than 24 hours from formally accepting the job, and I'm really excited to be here, and this is an exciting day for East Carolina. A few other people I'd like to thank. J.J. McLam was instrumental throughout this process. Obviously, I had a long history and understanding of East Carolina athletics. I thought it was really important to have someone in the room when we talked to Coach Houston to talk about the particulars. And there were often times that I turned to JJ and said, JJ, help me answer that question of how we do things. So JJ, thank you for what you do for this department and this institution. I'm really grateful. Two other people I would like to thank that were instrumental. Paul Zegas, university attorney. We were on the phone at all hours of the night and early morning. Paul, thank you for your commitment to this process and this institution. And Stephanie Coleman. Stephanie was instrumental in helping pull this all together. It really, I reiterate what I said yesterday. It is not about me. It's about this great institution, this athletic department, and the many fine people that comprise this athletic department. That's the reason we're all going to be successful, everybody in this room. So thank you. Today is a special day for East Carolina athletics. I would like to welcome Amanda, Owen, and Reed to the Pirate family. Thank you all for being here. We are maybe going to give you a real sword to run out with at the first football game. We'll put a tip on the end of it to make sure they don't cut anyone. Coach Mike Houston has a track record of success. He's been a very successful high school coach in the state of North Carolina. He was the head coach at Division II powerhouse Lenoir-Rhyne College in Hickory, North Carolina. I really think today that looking down above us, Coach Stass has got to be excited that a Lenoir-Rhyne guy is coming to lead the Pirates. Just warms my heart to think about that, knowing what I know about the history of Lenoir-Rhyne and East Carolina. Couldn't be more excited about that. He left Division II Lenoir-Rhyne, went on to the Citadel. had a successful career there, went to James Madison, and won a national championship there and had a great career track record. He hasn't skipped a step. That's one of the things that really impressed me about Coach Houston in his tenure. He's been a high school coach, he's been a Division II coach, he's been a 1AA coach, and now he's moving on to the East Carolina Pirates. And I think that is really one of the most impressive things about his track record. I know that he places a high value on culture, as do I. I know he will bring a great culture to our football program. I thought that was one of the things that he really conveyed through the process of how important culture was. His energy and personality are infectious. I saw that last night when he met with our football program. I thought it was important that our football team meet him first. Coach Houston and I are both here to serve them and help lead them. And so I wanted to make sure he had the opportunity to do that. We have a lot of our team here today, which I'm thankful to you all for being here. The most important thing for me was throughout this process, Coach Houston conveyed to me how bad he wanted to be a Pirate. That came across loud and clear. He wanted to be here. He is a great fit for us. His strong North Carolina roots will serve us well. It is my pleasure to introduce the 22nd head football coach of the East Carolina Pirates, Coach Mike Houston. Chancellor, if you would stand for the photo.
Good morning. I didn't know that they moved Free Boot Friday to Tuesday. I expect to be a little more lively than this, though. So I want to start by just thanking Chancellor Staten, AD John Gilbert, and the Board of Trustees at East Carolina University for giving me this opportunity. As John mentioned, this is a place that I'm excited to be the head football coach at. This is a place that I wanted to be the head football coach at. You know, growing up in the state of North Carolina, I know the history and the tradition of East Carolina football. Being a high school football player in the late 80s and early 90s, and then transitioning on to a college football player in the state at Mars Hill University in the early mid-90s, I remember what East Carolina football was during that time period. I remember the Peach Bowl team that was as good as anybody in the country. A close friend of mine was an inside linebacker on that team. I remember the tradition that carried on through the coming years all the way into the 2000s. You know, I've been fortunate to have a stint as a high school football coach in the state of North Carolina, to have relationships with East Carolina University at that time as they recruited the school that I was coaching at. I went on to Lenore Ryan University, again in the state of North Carolina, recruited the state from the mountains and Murphy all the way to the coast and Manio. So I knew the state well, but I always knew East Carolina football. I've had stints in other states. You know, we spent some time in South Carolina and Charleston, which is a place that's very, very close to Amanda and I. You know, we've been in Harrisonburg, Virginia for the last several years, and both stints were just fantastic stops. And we have close friends and strong relationships, and those institutions treated us incredibly. But at the end of the day, yesterday, when we landed in Greenville and we got off the plane, it truly felt like we were coming home. And so I want to start by saying that Amanda and I could not be more excited about the opportunity to bring Owen and Reed back to North Carolina and to lay down strong roots and foundations here in the Greenville community and to truly be back home. The big thing that we want to do in starting this relationship is I'm excited about our alumni. I'm excited about our fan base. I want to establish a strong bond between those groups in our football program. We are Eastern North Carolina's football program. In time, we will be North Carolina's football program. But we're excited to be here. We're excited about the opportunity of what we have to build. When you talk about that, one thing I do want to hit on is, the reason I feel like this is a great fit for myself at this point in my career is the strong relationships I have with the high school football coaches in the state. There are so many of them that I either played with in college, I've coached against, I know very well through recruiting. We have strong ties with the high school football coaches across the state, and we are going to recruit the state of North Carolina very aggressively. We are not going to back down from anyone in the recruiting battle. We are also going to recruit the surrounding area, the Tidewater, Richmond, Norfolk area in Virginia. We're going to recruit the state of South Carolina. We're going to recruit Atlanta, but our home base is going to be in-state football players. The key to me is establishing what East Carolina football is going to be. What's going to be our identity. I had the opportunity to meet with our football team last night, and I laid out, our plan and our expectations. It's going to start with how we operate on a daily basis. I'm a firm believer that, if you want a certain identity on game day, then that better be your identity year-round. And I can promise you, we are going to be a hard-nosed, physical, fundamentally sound, disciplined football team. That's what we're going to be. We're going to play with tremendous intensity. We're going to play with passion. We're going to play with fire. We're going to compete and go toe-to-toe with anybody we match up against. But that's going to be our mentality year-round. We're going to have a family atmosphere inside the football building. I talked to the players last night about what that means. Every coach in the country talks about a family atmosphere. We're going to live it. I'm going to be heavily involved in the lives of our student athletes. We're going to be involved in their personal life, who they're around, what they're doing, where they are, how they conduct themselves. Your last name is JMU, excuse me, I apologize. I've been saying that for 3 years. Your last name is ECU. It's something that's very important to me. And I talked to them about that last night, because if you're a football player, if you're a coach, if you're a representative of an institution, then you're not just a representative of that institution while you're at work that day. You're a representative of that institution 24/7, 365. So the players are going to understand when they go out and they're around town, if they're out across campus, if they're back home, their actions represent East Carolina University. They've got to understand that when someone speaks of them, they're going to speak of them as ECU football player, whomever. And with that becomes great responsibility, great accountability. That's something we're going to build our program on. The way we train, the way we practice is going to be reflective of how we play. I'm not naive enough to think that we're going to be able to turn around tomorrow and be what my vision is for this program. It's going to take a lot of hard work. We spoke of that last night. We spoke of the commitment that's going to take in the weight room. They're going to have a certain plan laid out for them over the Christmas break. When they come back in January, they will never have worked as hard as they are going to work this spring, this winter, in that weight room, on that field, to prepare the team to represent East Carolina University the way it deserves to be represented. It's important to me that we're able to connect. It's important to me that we're able to connect the past, the tradition of East Carolina football, our current roster, and the future of what this program is going to be. We're going to have lofty goals. I can promise you, no matter what the expectations of our athletic director, our chancellor, our fan base, the media, or anyone else, I don't care what their expectations are, they will not match the internal expectations that this team and myself will have for our program. We are not going to back down from that. We are not coming together to just be average. We want to build a program that will, year in and year out, compete for the American Athletic Conference Championship and compete nationally against any and everybody. There's going to be a heavy investment on the players' part. There's going to be a heavy investment on my part, on my staff's part. There's going to be a heavy investment on the institution's part. I'm excited about the commitment that Chancellor Staten and John Gilbert and the institution has made to this football program. They did not back down from what is important, and that's making ECU football relevant again. Dave Hart, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Staten, thank you for having me here. And I can promise you, there will be no quarter, ever, from ECU football. Go Pirates! Questions from the media?
What do you tell the fan base that's been a little fractured over the last few years, 3 and 9 seasons, they have strayed away from the program?
I would tell them we're all in this together. You know, you're either a part of the problem or you're part of the solution. I haven't been here the last 3 years, so you know I can't tell you what all the problems are, but I can tell you this: I'm committed to getting it fixed, and I need the fans' help. I need the alumni's help. I need our administration's help. We're all going to be in this together. I expect Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium to be jam-packed and full this coming fall, and I'm going to work together with our players to make sure that we put a product on the field that our fan base can embrace.
Hey, Coach, Billy Weaver with WIT and TV. There are a few guys on your staff that have really deep ties to East Carolina University, Kirkpatrick and Coach Shankweiler, Steve Shankweiler. Have you reached out to them? Have you talked to them about this place and how special it is? And is there room on your staff for those guys?
Well, I've worked with them on a daily basis year-round, so I talk to them quite a bit. They would have to be living in a hole in the back of a cave somewhere to not to know what's going on. So yeah, we've discussed it. I'm committed to put together a staff that is going to give our program an opportunity to achieve at a very high level. And who's on that staff are going to be the individuals that are best fit to help this team do what we need to do.
Coach, Ronnie Woodward, the Daily Reflector in Greenville. A lot of ECU struggles in the past few years in conference play, and we went just how familiar are you with the AAC? Any thoughts about how to win in this league?
Well, I think number one, the AAC is the top mid-major conference in the country. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I think what UCF has done the past 2 years is incredible. But not just UCF, whether you're talking about Houston or Memphis, South Florida, or any of the others. This league is a challenge week in and week out, and you're going to see some of the best football teams in the country every single week. It doesn't matter if it's home or away or whatever. We've got to get to work to get our program up to that level, and so that starts today. The first thing we got to do is we got a lot of work to do the next 2 weeks before signing day, and I've instructed the staff members here. I expect to meet with them tomorrow to go over exactly where we are with our commitments, exactly where they are in their recruiting process. And over the next 2 weeks, my number one priority is going to be to solidify that first recruiting class. Beyond that, we just got to get to work on building this team. It's going to be a big chore, but we look forward to the challenge.
Coach, Troy Drives Pirate Radio. First of all, congratulations and welcome to Greenville. Can you take us back to behind the scenes of what happened last week, how this whole thing went down a week ago, less than a week ago, was reported UNC Charlotte had offered you a job. When was your first communication with East Carolina? How did that happen? Who communicated with you? And did you reach out to ECU first, or did they reach out to you first?
I think first, this past week's been a whirlwind. We were in the national playoffs, preparing for a second-round playoff game this past weekend up in New York against Colgate. I was contacted at the beginning of last week by UNC Charlotte. At that point in time, this was not a viable option. There was no vacancy at East Carolina University. As we worked through the week, I was contacted Thursday afternoon right before I went on the practice field by Dave Hart and said he would like to talk to me about this opportunity. I was getting ready to go on the field, so I asked if I could call him back Thursday night. We had a great conversation Thursday night, which I immediately called my athletic director, Jeff Bourne, who Dave had already talked to Thursday morning, and told him that I had spoken with East Carolina University. I also then called UNC Charlotte athletic director Mike Hill and informed him that I had talked to East Carolina University and I had interest in talking to them further after the weekend. My big thing was I had a team and we had a ball game on Saturday. I hate that our profession has gotten to the point, the college football landscape has gotten to the point with a new early signing day where as an FCS coach, you had to deal with that while you're still playing. But the reality is if we weren't still playing, I probably wouldn't be dealing with it. The fact that we were one of the top programs in the country is the reason that I had these opportunities. So trying to manage it as best we could was a priority. No matter what you try to say or not say, people at other places, it seems like they talk, things get out. There are no secrets anymore. So the whole world, kind of went through that whole deal with us last week. But, I was excited Sunday morning to have a great conversation with John Gilbert and Dave Hart and JJ. JJ does everything around here. I'm just telling you. If it was not for JJ, I probably wouldn't be standing here today. It might be 3 more days from now. But, we had a great conversation Sunday morning. And, as soon as I was contacted by East Carolina University, there was no doubt of what my desire was, and that was to be the head football coach here. This is a job that I identified, in my past as being somewhere that I would want to pursue, trying to have this opportunity. Last year in 2017, when my team at JMU had a chance to come here and open the season, it was incredible seeing a jam-packed stadium that was rocking the way it was there at the beginning of the ball game. I look forward to being back in this stadium and it conducting itself that way this fall. But that's how kind of that stuff played out. I'm glad it played out the way it did to this end because this is where I want to be.
Mike Sandy, National Favorable Observer. What is the challenge here? How does it differ from what you face at James Madison and Aurora?
Well, I think James Madison's a little bit different than my other stops. JMU is one of the top 2 or 3 programs in the country at the FCS level. That's a program that's going to compete year in, year out with a lot of the mid-major FBS institutions. So the funding there, the facilities there, the commitment to football there is as good as it gets at that level. And so that's a different animal than when you talk about the Citadel or Lenore-Ryan University. So I think the culmination of all 3 experiences is what I'll bring here to East Carolina. The combination of having to take over a program at Lenore-Ryan University that had 1 winning season in the past 20 years, had not been to the playoffs in 50 years, and to be able to take them to 3 straight conference championships and a national championship game appearance. That was an experience in building that program that was very important. The Citadel, in some respects, that is the best job I could have had because I cannot imagine a job being much harder on a daily basis than that job, as far as fielding a football team. That's just the truth. And they know it, and I think they're kind of proud of it. They try to make it as hard as they can sometimes, but it is also a great place. It is a tremendous place, and just what the Citadel teaches their young men and what it taught me as their football coach are lessons and experiences that you cannot replicate as far as handling situations. and working with, whether it's administration, people in the community, the media. It was a great learning experience for me. So I will take all three experiences and apply them here at East Carolina University, because East Carolina is different than all three. I do think there are similarities with where this program is right now and where the Citadel was and where Lenore-Rhine was when we first got to those two places. So, we've been through this before where you have to, bring the program back. So I'm excited about the opportunity.
Hi, Coach. Tom Shanahan from the News Observer. Can you talk about your offensive and defensive schemes, particularly how the talent you inherit is going to fit what you want to do in offense?
Well, we're going to be a very multiple, very balanced spread offense. We are going to run the football, and we're going to run the football with physicality, and we're going to throw the football effectively. We're going to try to spread the field sideline to sideline, and we're going to try to attack vertically in a passing game, and we're going to try to, we're going to try to get downhill on people in the running game. I think the identity of your football team is built by your offensive line, so it's going to be something that's very important, the way they train this spring, the way they train during fall camp. Defensively, we're going to be a multiple 4-2-5, 3-4 defense. We're going to be very aggressive. We're going to use a combination of zone, man, and quarters coverage, and we're going to attack at all points in time. Our special teams will be reflective of those mentalities. So at the end of the day, what I just described to you is something that's very similar among a lot of programs around the country, a lot of the programs in the AAC. And I'm a firm believer that it's not what you do, it is how you do it. And so our mentality and our mindset will be more important than the schemes that we use.
Why is it important for you to keep the foundation of recruiting in Eastern North Carolina here?
That's home base. This is our fan base is centered around Eastern North Carolina. And so I think, number one, the more that we can attract the top players in the eastern part of the state to ECU, then the stronger and more loyal our fan base is going to be. So I think that's very, very important. The next thing is, building an identity in this region, and not just Eastern North Carolina, but in the Carolinas, Virginia, building an identity. We've got to have, a starting point, and so that's our starting point.
Mike, Steve and I go 24/7 Sports and Voice of Colors. You said you knew a lot about ECU growing up in North Carolina, but how much did Johnny Kirkpatrick, Shank Wilder, even Tripp Weaver, who was the ECU guy?
Don't hold Tripp Weaver against me, okay?
What are they going to tell you about ECU over the years?
Well, Donnie recruited the high school I was the head coach at a couple of different institutions, so I've known him for a long time. And when he was here at ECU, I was at Lenore-Rhine. We've continued that relationship. He played at Lenore-Rhine, so we've talked about different experiences over the years. When I hired Donnie, we talked extensively about East Carolina University. Tripp, he played for me in high school. When he was here, he wanted to get involved in football, so I told him who to go see, and I said, volunteer to wash the towels, do whatever. And he ended up doing a great job here before he came to work with me. So obviously, with my strong relationships with those three individuals that you mentioned, we've talked a lot about East Carolina University and the football program here. I know that all three of them have really positive memories and great experiences from here. Not just the football program, but the Greenville community and the campus and the people around campus. So, and their memories come from, some of the strongest days of this program. So I think all of us feel like there is tremendous potential here.
Coach in the back, Ryan Bailey, NCT here in Greenville. Welcome to Greenville.
Thank you.
When you look at the recruiting deal, the recruits right around Pitt County right now, how quickly can you move on to secure those commitments?
Well, we've got an official visit planned for this weekend. We have a group that's committed already. We've been evaluating those committed student athletes. We are going to work with them first. We are also going to try to pursue non-committed players in the region that are the ability level that we feel like can help us win championships here. One thing with recruiting is we are going to be very straightforward and honest with our recruits. They are going to know exactly where we stand with them individually at all times, and that'll start with our interactions this weekend. Anything else? Okay. Thanks a lot for your time this morning. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you better. Go Pirates.